Good morning, Otters. It's Miss Smith here. I'm here to teach you English today. You've had the pleasure of Mrs. Whiteman teaching you the last few lessons, but from now on it will be myself as we start to get really specific with our Year 3 objectives. Today we are going to be writing a two-pair sentence. So I would like you to pause me here and write your date and LO. Don't forget, please, to leave a line between the both of them and underline them with a ruler. I'm looking for that super neat writing, and hopefully if you send me in a picture of your work, I will give you a little shout out in one of our welcome videos in the morning. So pause me here whilst you write it and then press play when you're ready to move on. Okay then, so date and LO should all be done by now. I'm hoping it's super neat. Okay, don't forget date, underline, misalign, title, underline, misalign. So we're going to be writing two-pair sentences today. We have done this before when we were learning about the cobbler of Krakow, okay, but that was quite a while ago, so we're going to try and refresh your memory today. First things first, though, I would like you to just remind yourself about practice the story map, okay? So the story map is on the website. It's on last Thursday's daily timetable. And you need to be practicing this so you know it off by heart, as this will really help us with our writing. So some of you may have printed the story map and have it in front of you. Others might want to press the video. Please don't forget to add those actions, okay, to help you learn them. Pause me whilst you practice it and then press play when you're ready to move on. Okay then, so hopefully you've been practicing that story map. If you're feeling really confident with your story map and you're really proud of your actions, your parents are more than welcome to record you reciting your story map, and they can send that through to me for to show off your learning. Before we write a two-pair sentence, we need to remind ourselves what is an adjective. So pause me whilst you think of your answer. What is an adjective? Hopefully you said that an adjective is a word that describes a noun. But then that leads on to my next question. We have to remember what a noun is. So what is a noun? Pause me whilst you think of your answer. Okay, a noun is a naming word. So it's a person, a place, or a thing. And so the adjective describes that. So for example, your noun could be a boy. And then your adjective would be the small boy, the cold boy, the thin boy, the fat boy, and so on. Okay, so adjectives, it says how and where are they used within a sentence. Adjectives are generally used before the noun that they're describing. So now we know what a noun is, we're going to be moving on to an expanded noun phrase. Now we have spoken about these and you use them lots in your writing, you might just not realise it. So a noun is a thing, person or idea, we've already said that. And an expanded noun phrase adds that extra information about the noun. It normally has a determiner, an adjective, and then your noun. Okay, so sometimes instead of, let's think of an example. An expanded noun phrase could be the small boy. The is your determiner, small is your adjective, and boy is your noun. Okay, and it's even got an example along the bottom. So you've got the fierce, ugly troll beneath the bridge. And they've gone even further there because they've included a prepositional phrase here. If in your writing today you like some of these words and you'd like to magpie them, you can always rewind the video to this slide and you can magpie some of these words because these adjectives are amazing. So we've got pristine, dilapidated, really good adjectives. And the prepositional phrases is a very good idea. Underneath the waterfall, I like in particular. So if you want to magpie these, you can maybe make your own magpie book at home and record some of these words, or you can rewind the video to this slide. Moving on. I've given you the answer. Silly Miss Smith. First of all, what nouns are there in the story? Okay, so think what person, places, or things are in George's marvellous concoction. Pause me whilst you have a think about it. So the two obvious ones are Grandma and George. Now I've been really specific today and I've not just said Grandma, And I'm actually thinking about Grandma at different stages in the story. So we've got Grandma at the start of the story where she's not very nice. Grandma when she takes the medicine. Okay, hence this picture down here, or maybe this one. And Grandma at the end of the story. Now, the reason that I split them up is because she actually acts and behaves very differently in each part of the story. So I couldn't describe Grandma in the same way at the start of the story that I would describe her at the end of the story. We've also got George. Here's a picture of George if you don't know what he looks like. And we've also got the concoction, which he is busy making here. Okay, so that's the main nouns in our story and that we're going to be talking about today. Okay, to help get your brains working, okay, we want a bank of as many adjectives as you can think of to describe these nouns. We want you to be aspirational in your words, so I don't want fat Grandma. We can do better than that. Okay, I don't want thin George. We can do better than that. So if you're stuck, you can always have a look in our model text and look at what adjectives are used. So for example, to describe Grandma, it says that she had rotten brown teeth and a small puckered mouth. It calls her mean and grumpy, selfish and wicked. It doesn't call her unkind, okay? Mean, I think we could do better, but actually selfish and wicked are some very good adjectives to describe Grandma. What I would like you to do is to come up with your adjectives. I would like you to maybe make a bit of a list. You can maybe make a spider diagram. It's however you want to present it, okay, but just have as many different adjectives as you can. Pause me here whilst you write down all of your ideas. I want some about Grandma, some about the concoction, and some about George. Okay then, so hopefully you've got a really good bank of adjectives. If you're stuck, there is an adjective word map on the website to help you with some ideas. But hopefully I was thinking for the concoction, maybe you could have bubbly. We've got smoky, we can see it here. It could be smelly, okay, or stinky. Maybe even strange, actually, or it could be sparkling. For George, I'm thinking he's brave. Okay, courageous maybe. He's definitely determined. You might even call him sneaky or cunning because he is quite sly. And then Grandma at the start, well, we know that she is horrid, wretched, haggard maybe. You could maybe call her miserable, wrinkled. What else could we have? Heartless maybe. Okay, so lots about Grandma. And then Grandma at the end of the story as well, where she's completely different. It says she's almost a new person. So maybe you could say how she is lovely or kind or considerate. Maybe she's glamorous and happy. Lots and lots of different adjectives you could have had there. So I won't go through all of them because I'm sure you've got some better ideas than I do. Next slide then. I would like you to use the adjective ideas that you've just thought of and the word bank on the website to help you come up with ideas to describe these two pictures. It's really specific. So in this picture, we're going to be describing Grandma. And I'd like you to try and write them in pairs. So you could have for Grandma, for example, mean and wicked. You could have grumpy and selfish. You can have horrid and miserable. Try and start writing them in pairs, as this will help us with our sentences later. For George down here, you could have, in fact, I'm going to write an example on each of what I would like it to look like. So here, that's a bit big, I would write mean and wicked. Okay, so sorry, I lost my train of thought there. So I've got mean and wicked, and I think I also said something like horrid and grumpy. If we write it in pairs now, it just saves us time when we're writing our two-pair sentence because they're ready to go. So for George, I might have brave and determined. Okay, or we could have cunning and smart. Maybe it's quite smart to try and trick his grandma. So please have a go at writing them in pairs to save us some time later. Pause me here whilst you have a go at that and then press play when you're ready to move on. Right then, so now it is your turn. So a two-pair sentence. This is mainly for parents as well if they're helping you, but we have done this before. Two pair sentences really add description to our characters, and they tell the reader what they're like. Some two pair sentences that are in our model text would be, and I think I've already said this one, mean and grumpy, selfish and wicked, she was always bossing him around. Okay, so you could already see the extra information we've got about Grandma. We already know more about what Grandma is like. The poster here for two pair sentences, here's the example. What punctuation do we need in our two pair sentence then? What punctuation? Yeah, we need commas after each pair. So exhausted and worried, comma, cold and hungry, comma, they did not know how much further they had to go. You must have your commas in there. So when you're sending your work in to me, that's what I'm going to be looking for, okay? As well as some really good adjectives. Okay, so this is your activity now. You can choose which challenge. I think most of you will be on challenge 2, and a few of you, I think, can push yourselves to have a go at challenge 3. Challenge 1 says write 2A sentences to describe Grandma and the concoction using the adjective mat. I don't think anybody's going to be doing that, okay, because we can all do 2 pair sentences. We've all got the adjective mat to help us. I don't think you need to do challenge 1. Challenge 2. So it says complete the sentences choosing the best adjectives. They are on this slide. In fact, I'm going to make this a bit bigger so you can see it. You will be pausing the video on this bit in a moment, and you'll be copying this out. Okay, so it says something and something, something and something. Grandma was always bossing him around. So you could have mean and grumpy, selfish and wicked. Grandma was always bossing him around. Make sure your adjectives fit in nicely with it and it makes sense. So for example, I wouldn't have happy and glamorous. Grandma was always bossing him around. It doesn't fit in with what we know about Grandma. Pause me whilst you have a go at this one and then press play for your next part of the activity. Okay, so hopefully you finished these sentences now, and this is the second part of challenge 2. This time I've given you the adjectives instead, and I'd like you to finish the sentences. Make sure you're copying the adjectives correctly. They should be spelled properly because they're on the board. And I've been really helpful and I've put in all of the commas for you and even the full stops at the end. When you're answering these questions, you'll have to have a think about what adjectives, which character those adjectives are describing. So scared and worried, alone and desperate. Is that going to be Grandma or is that going to be George? Who's going to be scared? It's going to be George. So the rest of my sentence here will be about George. And you'll have to read through the adjectives I've given you. So for example, haggard and vile, rude and beastly. Well, that's going to be Grandma. I wouldn't describe George like that. Okay, so have a go at finishing these sentences for me. Pause me here and then press play when you're ready to finish off the lesson. Okay, and then some of you are going to be doing challenge 3. Now, challenge 3 was you just have to write your own 2 pair sentences. Please write them about George's marvellous concoction. Don't just make them up about aliens. Okay, I want them about George, Grandma, or the concoction, as this will help with our shared writing later on in the week. I think you could write at least 5 to 10 2 pair sentences, because that's how many challenge 2 have to do. So try and think of 10 questions. If you're attempting challenge 3 and you're struggling to think of ideas, then you can magpie some ideas from challenge 2. That's fine. Okay then. In fact, so pause me if you're doing challenge 3. If you've done challenge 2 and you're ready to finish off the lesson, keep listening. So normally in class we'd share some of our sentences. Unfortunately, we can't do that straight away. But what I'd really like from you is for you to send me in your sentences. So in the morning videos, in the welcome videos, I can share some really good examples. So far, I've told you how beautiful Dano's work has been this week. I would really like to be able to give a few more of you some shout outs. That's it from me today, and I will be back again tomorrow for some more English.